Hello, fellow Silversaints. I hope you're all doing well. This is a little bit different for me. I'm in a different setup. I'm in my bedroom and it's actually currently Tuesday morning and I'm just getting ready for work. And I thought, I know what I'm doing this week. I've got quite a busy week ahead and I'm away this weekend when I would usually film. And I thought, well, I've been listening to some really good books this week, and I wanted to give you a bit of an update whilst my feelings and thoughts were really fresh in my mind, rather than trying to store them in my head and wait until the weekend, which actually, because I'm away, most likely looking like it's going to be even further away. So I thought I would just record some of my thoughts in the moment. So if this ends up being a bit of like a reading vlog, like a small weekly reading vlog, then it might be a bit of a new thing for me, but I'm going to give it a go. Feel a bit strange doing it like this, but I'm going to give it a go. I'm actually still in my gym gear because I've just done a workout, but I'm going to be shortly getting ready and going to work. But I just thought I would quickly hop on and give you some updates. Last night, I finished A Game of Thrones by George R.R. Martin. I was talking to Abby about it this morning. We both said we can't believe how bingeable this book is. It's like the pages are turning themselves. Many of us have either read the series or seen the TV series. And I wondered going back into this, because it's a reread for me, even though that was a long time ago. And because I've seen the series so many times, I did wonder and was a little bit concerned with Game of Thrones as to whether I would find it as gripping, knowing that I know what is going to happen to all the main characters. Now, in the books, there are additional characters and additional plot lines and threads that aren't included in the television series. But nevertheless, I still know the vast majority of it. And so I did wonder, am I going to be bored, going into this book, knowing what happens? The answer is no, not at all. It's brilliant. George R.R. Martin's writing is so easy to read and easy to digest, but it's easy to read and easy to digest, but there's so much going on. There are so many characters, all of the houses, all of the politics and the plots that are going on. It's so vast and just absolute genius, but it's so easy to read. Now, I do think, having seen the series, it's made it easier, because we were talking about this in the Discord. If you've seen the series, you kind of have faces to put to names in the books. Makes it a lot easier to follow. I do wonder how my experience would have been this time round if I hadn't seen the series. Nevertheless, this has been one of the best reads. It was, I think I did put all these sort of thoughts and feelings into my reading tracker that I'm using, and I think it came out as a 4.75, but really that's only because I'm, rating it very specifically, but really it's a 5-star. This was a great introduction. And just the whole way through, there's constant twists and turns. The ending is just iconic in my head from the series as well on TV, and it was just amazing. And I spoke to Abby about it this morning, and she said she was reading it last night. The pages were turning themselves. It was so quick. It's a fundamental series in terms of fantasy for a reason. It's an incredible book. So I loved that. Yesterday, I also started Red Country by Joe Abercrombie, the next standalone in the First Law universe. I'm doing this as a buddy read with Liam, the Scottish guy that reads. We started it. I think we're up to chapter 4 today. We're trying to do 3 chapters a day, but I cheated a little bit. I went over. I did check with Liam that it was okay that I went over, and he said it was fine. Guys, I cannot tell you how happy I am to be back in the First Law world. I was happy when I was back in it with Best Served Cold. I was happy when I was back in it with the heroes. I'm so happy to be back in it with Red Country. We're only a few chapters in, but nevertheless, even though we're only a few chapters in, the setup is there. We have got some familiar faces from the First Law universe from the previous books. We've also got inklings of mentions of characters that are in the background that I definitely recognise. Even though they've not been named, it's kind of hinted at who they are, which is fantastic. The grit is back. The humour is back. I am laughing so much. And I'm just going to briefly spoil. So if you haven't read Red Country and you want to, and you don't want to be spoiled, this is a quick spoiler warning here. But, so spoiler. Click off if you don't want to hear it. It's not really a spoiler as such. It's more that I just want to talk about a character. Nikamo Koska is back in Red Country, and an infamous character from the First Law trilogy, and I absolutely adore him. He is just a vile human, but hilarious, utterly hilarious. Stephen Pacey's voice for him is brilliant, and the minute I heard his voice, I thought, oh, it's Koska, he's back. And he's in full swing, and it's just fantastic. We've also got Cool Shivers is back in Red Country, which I love. I love me a Northman. Cool Shivers is a very tortured Northman, but he was fantastic in Best Served Cold and briefly in The Heroes as well. And he's back. And then we have another plot thread going on. We've been introduced to a couple of new characters. So we have a female called Shy, and another character called Lamb, and some others as well. And they have been deeply wronged. They have been harmed by soldiers, we believe. We don't actually quite know who has hurt them yet, but somebody has basically ravaged their farm, killed some of their family members, and they are now on the hunt seeking revenge. Koska has been employed as a sort of mercenary in a sort of side thread. That's all I've got at the moment, but it's just fantastic. I'm absolutely adoring it and just laughing all the way. I think this is going to be a favourite. So I just wanted to give you a little update. And so those are my current updates. And I will be back again soon at some point in the week with some more reading updates for you. I am back again with another update. Now, I have decided to make this entire video a spoiler-filled reading vlog for Red Country by Joe Abercrombie. And I just feel I'm having so much fun with this book. I feel like I need to tell you everything. And I've decided to document my journey, and it's going to be completely spoiler-filled. So if you do not want to get spoiled for Red Country by Joe Abercrombie, please skip here. Please skip this video. I will not be offended, but because I'm going to be spoiling it and telling you everything that's happening, plot points, everything, and my thoughts. I've been making notes on everything so far and chatting back and forth with Liam about it. And honestly, we've both just been saying the same thing, how much fun it is and how we are just loving it so much. And we just love this world. We love Joe's writing. And I feel like we need to talk about it. So I've got my handy dandy notes. I've been making notes the entire time that we've been reading it. And I just wanted to go through some of my thoughts, feelings, and updates so far. Red Country, I have discovered, it has just been confirmed actually by a character that it is set apparently approximately about 10 years after the events of Best Served Cold. So that is the standalone that is prior to The Hero. So it's the first standalone after the First Law trilogy. In Red Country, so far, we have been introduced to a few new characters. So as I say, I've made notes. So I'm gonna read from my notes. So we've been introduced to a character called Shy South and her kind of father figure. Kind of made out that it was like her father, but also not her father. So maybe like a stepdad, but definitely a father figure. And his name is Lamb. And Lamb seems very sort of like rough and ready, maybe a bit of a brute, but also like quite quiet, which is really interesting. He seems very trustworthy. Shy is very much like she's got wits about her. She's very clever. She's very intelligent and very much not easily led. She's very headstrong. And I really like her character so far. Not a warrior by any means, but very headstrong. I really like that about her. And so far, her and Lamb have been just in the sort of first scene that we're introduced to them. They are just selling their wares. They've sort of met a merchant and they're just selling their wares. And it was very funny. There was a lot of back and forth. You know, it's got all Joe Abercrombie sort of typical sarcasm and wit and humour that we love. And I've been cackling away. It's been so funny. And I really like their introduction. We've kind of been introduced to our first sort of, I guess, major plot point where this story really kicks off, where Shy and Lamb return to their sort of farmstead to find that it has been burned down in its entirety. Completely devastated. And I made notes because I knew I would forget. One of their friends, I believe his name was Gully, has been hanged, and then two children who were there, called Roe and Pitt, have been abducted, have been taken. And so Lamb and Shy make this decision to follow the kidnappers, the people that burned down their farmstead and who took the children, because it's noted that one of them has been hanged, but the children specifically have been taken, have been abducted. And so that was really interesting. Shy and Lamb are sort of at this point following the kidnappers. And then we are introduced to another new character. So Shy and Lamb go move on, and they then come across a new character who we are introduced to called Leaf, a young man who his parents have also been killed by this group of people that have devastated Lamb and Shy's farm, and they have kidnapped his younger brother as well. So there is this trend that children are being taken and are going missing. So very interesting. And they kind of take him under their wing. Leaf joins them on their travels. They then come across some men, and these men they know were in the kidnapping group. They know that they were part of this band of people that have been committing these awful crimes. And they come across, there's 3 men, and they're in like a tavern. And this is where our first sort of showdown kind of happens. It's very interesting. It reminded me of like a Quentin Tarantino film. You know, the dialogue was excellent. And in this scene in particular, Lamb, the character, really starts to come to life. So far, he's been kind of like moody and quiet, and we know that he cares about Shy a lot, but he doesn't seem to care about anything else. And he very much is sort of hinting that he's had a bit of a past, a dark past, and that everybody has a dark past, but that it's all behind him now. At this point, in this sort of moment of communication with people that they know were part of the kidnapping crew, he really starts to darken quite a lot. And the dialogue between him and the men that were in the kidnappers or in that group is just, it was so tense. It was so tense because you can clearly see those men, or in the dialogue, they were really frightened of him and felt quite intimidated by him. But at this point, Lamb doesn't look very intimidating. He's quite old, but the way that he was speaking to them really filled them with dread. And I love that. And I felt so tense in that scene. And then we really see him quite easily kill 2 of these 3 men. He goes all out, kills them, and shows quite a lot of skill and quite a lot of anger and violence that Shy has never seen before. And so that was quite interesting. It was quite interesting to see that sort of dynamic. Shy has always seen him as this sort of protective father figure who's generally quite quiet, and now you've got this strange violent side to him coming out, which I thought was really interesting. At this point, he started to really remind me of a First Law character. Now, I don't want to get my hopes up. I didn't want to get my hopes up, but at this point, he started to remind me of a character. So I had that noted, and his voice sounded a bit different. So I was thinking, maybe it's not him. They kept 1 member left, so he killed 2 but kept 1, and they questioned him, and he confirmed that the kidnappers that this band of people, they're stealing children and they're taking them to this specific place because this one person is buying them. He's buying these children. Shy and Lamb proceed. They go on they decide to journey on to this place to see if they can find the children that have been kidnapped. And as they are leaving this tavern, they are sort of caught up by a man. So I've been introduced to another character who I believe his name is Sweet. Is it Dab Sweet? Something like that. He catches them up, basically says, I'm part of this bigger fellowship. Come and join us. We are actually going that way. We're going to this place. I think it's called Crease. We're going to Crease, where these people are from, where they're taking the children. Come with us. Join our gang. And I think he initially only offers to take just Shy, but she convinces him to take on Lamb and Leaf as well. And so he does. She kind of strikes a bargain, and he takes all 3 of them. And so they're following him. So Lamb, Shy and Leaf are all going with Dab Sweet. I think his name is Dab Sweet. Right at the end of that scene, there was a moment where I was kicking my feet and squealing. And this is what Joe Abercrombie does best, because there was a reveal, and my initial thoughts about one character, Lamb, were confirmed. They were no, they weren't confirmed, but my theory became so much stronger because it was confirmed that Lamb was stroking an area of his hand which had a missing finger, and immediately I thought, oh my gosh, it's him. It's Logan Nine Fingers. This is my theory. He reminded me so much of him, because when he talks to Shy a lot in the first part of the book, he's very much saying she's like, oh, you had a bad past, didn't you? And there's a lot of familiar phrases that Logan uses throughout the First Law trilogy. Things like, you can never have too many knives, or the phrase, I'll put it on the screen because it's not coming to me at the moment, but he uses a lot of those phrases, and Shy starts to use them. They were very Logan phrases, so I wondered if Shy was maybe related to Logan in some way, but I'm now starting to think that this might be Logan, that it might be Logan Nine Fingers, and the missing a finger has potentially confirmed it, so I'm really excited, and I hope it gets revealed. So I've got my fingers crossed. Meanwhile, while all of this is happening, we have another sort of side story that's going on. So we've got the POV, or sort of frame of the story, with Nikimo Kosuke. So Nikimo Kosuke is one of my favourite characters from First Law. He was in Best Served Cold. Was he in The Heroes? I'm pretty sure he was in The Heroes, but he was definitely in Best Served Cold, most prevalently and in the First Law trilogy as well. So yeah, he's got a mercenary band. I've forgotten what their name is. I'll think of their name. Gosh, what is their name? The Great Hand or something like that. The Gentle Hand. He kind of reminds me, if I say, like, I love Nikimo Kosuke. Kosuke is one of my favourite characters. I love him. He reminds me of Bronn from A Song of Ice and Fire. He's so untrustworthy. And so self-serving. You can't trust him at all. And he's vile. He's arguably vile, but he's absolutely hilarious and oddly lovable. I would say, though, that Bronn is a lot more violent, or I guess doesn't shy away from violence, whereas Kosuke is a little bit more like, he doesn't like to get his hands dirty, which, if he can help it, which I find quite funny about him. In this sort of side of the story, Kosuke and his mercenary band are kind of hired by an Inquisitor, Inquisitor Lawson, I think his name is, and another character called Superior Pike, who I believe are working for the Inquisition on behalf of the Union, and they are trying to basically abolish any rebels from the Union that was sort of established, in the First Law trilogy. And they are basically searching for a rebel leader called Conthus. They have hired Kosuke and his mercenary band to identify rebels and find this rebel leader. And so with that, we have a few new characters as well. So I wrote them down. So we've got Temple. Temple is like Kosuke's lawyer, almost. He's like his voice of reason. And Kosuke doesn't listen to him at all, but he's definitely some kind of voice of reason. Quite frequently throughout this first part of the book, so far, has been just filled with moral dilemmas, where Kosuke is choosing to do these things, and constantly you can see that Temple is thinking, no, this is a terrible idea. Like, we're doing something arguably really bad. Tries to talk Kosuke out of it, but of course it's Kosuke. There's no talking him out of anything. But Kosuke's company are sort of burning down, destroying towns and villages, searching for these rebels. Temple really doesn't agree with it and sort of has quite a battle with it. And there's one in particular where Temple and Kosuke and the band sort of come across this town. They're searching for rebels. They have reason to believe there's rebels there. Temple and another character called, I can't remember his name, but another character go ahead into the town, basically to warn the townspeople, you're surrounded, give up the rebels come forward, and then, we won't attack. But Kosuke gives them an hour to go and do this, and then he doesn't give them an hour. He infiltrates anyway. The man that went in with Temple gets stabbed, and it all goes wrong. Lots of other people get killed, and the entire village just gets pillaged. And this is what Temple was trying to avoid, but Kosuke goes ahead anyway, and being, very cheeky, he sort of says, it's war. This is what happens in war. You expect these things. And, Kosuke just sort of brushes it off. But Temple very much is like, no, this is wrong. What we're doing is wrong. Even though we're trying to seek these rebels, this is wrong. Innocent people are dying. All those people's lives could have been saved. So it's really interesting to see sort of different sides to these characters. Temple is arguably working with a mercenary band, but he still has this moral compass. But yet whenever he tries to act on his moral compass, it doesn't seem to pay off. So I really like that line of Abercrombie sort of dancing with this line of characters, and it's very similar to A Song of Ice and Fire in terms of the themes, where just because you're a good character or because you do good things, it doesn't mean good things happen to you. And actually sometimes being moral doesn't pay off. It kind of reminds me of like Ned Stark, he's constantly trying to be honourable and do the right thing, and yet Baelish and Varys always tell him, it's not going to work. Being honourable is not going to pay off. And it kind of makes me think of that. So I really like that theme that Abercrombie is touching on. But Temple ends up deserting. He can't face it anymore. He's so heartbroken that all of these people have died. He believes it's his fault. Kosuke kind of blames him. And so he decides to leave and he bumps into no other than Cool Shivers. Cool Shivers is a major character from Best Served Cold, and he's featured in the Heroes as well. And we know from those books that Cool Shivers is seeking Logan Ninefingers. He's on a path of revengeance, as we like to call it, to kill Logan Ninefingers because Logan killed his brother in the first Lore trilogy. And so knowing that potentially those two characters, well, we know that Cool is out. I think that Logan is in the book too. So knowing that they're potentially in the same book is making me very excited as to what could happen in the future. He had quite a dark journey in Best Served Cold, and even though he's such a good character, he definitely had he started quite light and bright and then ended up going down a really dark path. So I'm really interested to see how his characterization goes and to see whether he kind of redeems himself or becomes the monster that he kind of thought he would become. I'm not sure. So I'm really interested to see how that goes. So I can't wait to update you on that. And also, I finally just have to make a note about the character Friendly. If you know, you know. Friendly is back. He's with Cosga. And he is one of my favourite characters. He's the character that's very good with numbers, and that's like his purpose is just like he knows numbers, and he's not confident with anything else other than that. And I love his character, and if anybody hurts a hair on his head, I will riot. It's fantastic. But I'm loving it so far. I can't stop listening to it. It's so good. The audiobook is fantastic. Stephen Pacey is brilliant. And I can't wait to give more updates. Good morning, everybody. It is Thursday morning now, and I have got plenty of updates from today and from yesterday. Got my coffee to get down with my demons. Ernie's sad as usual. I've got my notes. I've got so much to catch you up on. Where we finished up, Temple, Cosca's kind of lawyer, had run off and abandoned, and he bumped into Cool Shivers. They had a bit of an interaction, and then some ghosts turned up. What is going on? Some ghosts turned up. We know that ghosts exist because there's quite a lot of ghosts featured in the first Lore trilogy that Logan speaks to. He kind of can see them and speak to them. He talks to them quite a lot. So these ghosts turn up, and they have a bit of a scuffle, and Temple ends up falling like into a river and gets swept away. Only to the next day, Shy and her sort of group, so Shy and Lamb and all that, but Shy comes across, like she goes to the river, she looks in, sees this body, pulls it out, it's Temple. The leader of the group, Mahood, will only let Temple join the fellowship if he pays or if someone pays for him. So Shy, bless her, pays for Temple to stay. They have like an odd instant connection. It's kind of cute. And Shy pays for him, so she pays like 150 bits or whatever it is for him to be able to join, and then he owes her that money, so he's like in debt to Shy. There's definitely like this instant connection between Temple and Shy, which I really love. Joe Abercrombie he's not exactly a romance writer, but he always does include a little bit of romance. Not that it's realistic, because sometimes his scenes contain a lot of grunting and it's like almost too human and a bit animalistic, but they feel weirdly realistic. But there's definitely like that kind of immediate sort of attraction that Temple has to Shy. And there was a scene where he sort of said she's softer because he leans on her shoulder and her shoulder's really hard. He's like, oh, I wonder if some parts of her are soft and things like that. And it's just like kind of cute, but very human. Guys, I am building up more and more evidence that Lamb is Logan Ninefingers. So Lamb and Shy have a bit of a heart-to-heart. They talk about her past and things, and he talks about making a promise to look after her and look after Ro and Ro and Pit, I think it was, the children that have been taken. He very specifically talks about, you know, when I'm getting angry, because he apologizes for like the brawl in the tavern, and he sort of says, when I get angry, you need to leave me alone, like just get out of the way. And that's making me think, bloody nine. There was another moment where Temple and Lamb sit together as well. Lamb tells Temple all about Shy's past, brothers and sisters that have, that have been taken away, or a brother and sister that have been taken away. But he's constantly talking about being better every day. Every day is a new opportunity to be a better person, make better choices and things like that. And it sounds like Logan. And then Temple notices that he has 5 fingers, and Temple then says to Lamb that he knew a man or met a man that was looking for somebody who had 9 fingers, and he mentions the name Cool Shivers, to which Lamb immediately is like wide-eyed, recognizes him immediately, or recognizes the name. Temple says, you know him, and he said, oh, I used to know him, but basically sort of suggests that their knowing each other wasn't great, because he sort of said like time has soured their relationship like old milk sort of thing. So It's, even though it's not named him yet, I swear there's something in it. Like, it's got to be him. But I love this kind of, there's this constant recurring theme of like the past always catches you up and you can never like escape it. So even if it is Logan, he's never been able to just like escape his past. You know, it's always sort of like catching him up continuously. And at the moment, that's through like cool shivers. Then we had another moment. So Dab Sweet, who is sort of like part of the Fellowship, meets up with a character called Sanjeed, who is part of like the ghosts. So he goes to the ghosts and meets them and basically tells them that the Fellowship are coming and that they can attack them, threaten them and take their money and things like that. So that was a bit weird. It's a kind of like, how does Dab know the ghosts and why is he like trying to help them out? So there was a bit of an interesting moment there. There was a real sad moment. So we've had a storm, and in the storm, the priest of the Fellowship has died, and so now Temple did a prayer because he sort of had training in that section, and everybody's like, wow, that was pretty good, like, you can be our priest now. So he's now a priest and has developed loads of skills, and he's now sort of being, so Shy always kept him doing like really bog standard like yucky jobs, and now he's sort of upgrading and moving up to doing better jobs to pay off his debt to her. He goes hunting with her and Lamb and Dab and Leaf, and they're attacked by ghosts, and Leaf unfortunately gets killed by the ghosts. It's really sad. It's a really awful moment. Dab arranges a meeting between the ghosts and the Fellowship where they can come to some kind of agreement of like helping each other out. And Lamb just sees red and just kills Sanjeed, just goes for it, just kills, like, doesn't allow for any agreement, just kills him. And then somebody has praised him and said, oh, like, you're bloody brilliant. And then he said, oh, I'm bloody all right. And I'm just like, it's him. It's the bloody 9. It's got to be. I can't think of any more. Like, there's got to be. That's all the evidence we need, right? The last moment I've just listened to, we're actually with the children, the 2 children, the brother and sister, Roe and Pitt, that have been stolen, that have been kidnapped. We're with them. They are with somebody who is sort of linked to the Maker from like the First Law trilogy. So it's all about the Maker. And he's told them, like, you're my children now, I'm not going to hurt you. And so I'm thinking, oh gosh. So we're sort of slowly uncovering what's happening with the children, why they're being taken. And the Fellowship have just arrived at Crease, and they've just sat down with the mayor of Crease, who is a woman. And that's where I've got up to this morning. I'm obsessed with this book. I love how there's so many intricate threads. Like, you've got kind of 3 sections that are going on at the same time, and they're all feeding more information. And I'm loving it. Liam and I are having the best time reading this. This is just so much fun. I don't want to stop listening to it. But I will be back again soon with another update.
She moves like a map with no borders, a whisper caught in the wind. I see her boots at the corner cafe with a notebook and a grin. She's chasing skies I've never named while I stay in my lane. But something in the way she moves keeps pulling at my chain. Oh, traveler, you carry the sun in your stride, leaving behind what I hold inside. If I don't ask your name today, I may never.
Hello everybody, I hope you are doing well. I'm coming from a slightly different place today. I am currently in a little cabin. It's actually my partner's Christmas present. We couldn't go before Christmas when we were supposed to because the cabin we were meant to be in had loads of technological difficulties, had lots of problems, so we've come in January. But it's been quite nice to have a nice little sort of getaway on a January weekend, and I've still got a tiny bit of sunlight in the cabin, so I'm just using that. I have been loving Red Country and I've been making my notes, and I thought, you know what, I'm going to take a moment to just give you all an update. So I've got so many updates for you. Now I've got my notes written down on my notepad in front of me, and I'm holding my camera with my phone and my microphone, so We're going to have to you're just going to have to bear with me. I'm probably going to be looking at my notes and things like that. But so much has happened. I was talking to Liam about this on Friday and just how much I love this book. I also mentioned it, I think I sent a message to Abby, and I also messaged Jake and Andrew because we did a First Law Buddy read with Best Served Cold a few months ago. And I just said to them all, you're going to love Red Country. Like, we are having the best time. And when you get to it, just tell me how obsessed you are because it's amazing. So I've been telling everybody about it. I was telling my partner all about it the other day. This is honestly one of the best reading experiences I've ever had for a while. And I've had a really good year in 2025, but 2026 is kicking off well. And I was talking to Liam about it the other day, and we are going to go straight into Age of Madness after this, so I'm really excited. But anyway, let me give you some updates. So, let me see where we were before. So, the last update I gave you was that the Fellowship had decided to meet with Sanjeed and the ghosts, and Lamb violently killed Sanjeed, and then it gave me more reasons to think that it was Logan Ninefingers. Guys, I just need to say, the evidence is still building. We're still much in the evidence is building thing, but I'm pretty certain at this point. And it's giving me the giddy grim dark feelings. I'm kicking my feet because every time a little reference is made and I think that it's a hint that it's Logan, I'm getting way more excited. By the way, I'm so sorry about the camera shaking because I'm holding it. I don't have my tripod with me. I would lean you on something, but I've got nothing to lean you on. It's a little bit in the way, but we'll go with it. My first update is that we made it to the town of Crease, and in Crease they have met the mayor. I told you she was a woman, and the mayor says that the Fellowship can only meet Cantless. So the mayor says she knows Cantless, but she says that they can only meet Cantless if they speak to a person called Papa Ring. Crease apparently is a place that was divided into two because it was along a crease. Like when you look at it on the map, it looks like a crease, which is why it was called Crease. And it was divided between two people. So it was divided between the mayor and a person called Papa Ring. Now, we've met Papa Ring at this point, and Papa Ring, the voice that Stephen Pacey does for him is brilliant. It kind of reminds me of like a pirate from Pirates of the Caribbean. But the town is divided between Papa Ring and the mayor, and they have this kind of rivalry that's been ongoing for a really long time. And they've come to some kind of agreement of being against each other, that in order for one of them to be able to say that they can take over Crease fairly and do what they want with it, they have decided that they are going to each choose a warrior to participate in a fight to the death in a circle. And the winner, whether the tribute from the mayor or the tribute from Papa Ring, whoever wins gets to have Crease be theirs, and then they get to choose whatever they do with it. If you're like me, you're probably thinking, I know where this is going. Immediately, as soon as that was mentioned, I thought, I know exactly where this is going. Of course, the mayor has got her eye set on Lamb because Lamb has demonstrated some excellent fighting skills. So the gentleman Dab Sweet has been in cahoots with the mayor and has been telling her all about everything that he's seen with Lamb in terms of his fighting skills. He's because obviously Dab Sweet has seen Lamb fight the men in the tavern earlier on, and then he's seen him violently kill Sanjeed. So he's gone to the mayor, told her about this, and so the mayor has chosen Lamb to be her tribute. The tribute that has been chosen by Papa Ring is none other than Glamour Golden, and Glamour Golden is a sort of returning character from the First Law world, so that was quite exciting. So I think it's important to note, in terms of the picture building for Lamb being Logan Ninefingers, Dab Sweet hasn't just gone to the mayor and just told him about the fighting and that's why they've made their choice. He has kind of seen Lamb fight this way and then has seen other things about him and has kind of put two and two together. And I'm pretty certain that Dab knows who Lamb is. It's kind of, they have a bit of an exchange, and it seems to be very clear that Dab knows that Lamb, I'm assuming, is Logan Ninefingers, so he's quite notorious. So I think it's not just that he's seen him fight and is using this to, as evidence to give to the mayor, but I think he's built up this evidence, a bit like we are as a reader, of thinking, this is Logan Ninefingers. I'm going to put my microphone there and hope that that works. So at this point, a few other things are going on in the background. So one other thing that is happening is that Temple has been asked by the Med. She has asked Temple, because she knows he's got a lawyer background, she has asked him to create a document that signs crease over to the old empire and not the Union. So that's like a sort of side thing that's going on. And Temple does this also because the mayor sort of writes off a lot of his debts. So Temple is then able, with the money generated from building a house for somebody else and doing this, he then has enough money to pay off his debts to Shy. After this happens, Temple and Shy have a bit of a drunken evening together. They go to like the tavern and they're drinking all of these really, 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 really spicy drinks, and they get incredibly drunk and they end up sleeping together. It's one of those moments again. Now, I mentioned this recently. I just found a pillow to lean my arm on. It's so much nicer. It's one of those things where their little relationship was so. It's not romantic, but it is romantic at the same time. It was a very sort of human experience that they had, but they got really drunk and they expressed a lot of feelings for each other. They slept together, and then in the morning, this was the bit that this is what I really like about Joe Abercrombie's writing of relationships and sort of sexual encounters, is that they just seem ridiculously human. So he talks about how like Shy in the morning is like puking first thing because she's so hungover, and how awful Temple feels. You know, he's got a really bad headache and just feels awful. But then they have a really sweet exchange, like a verbal exchange, and Temple basically he's told her he told her either the night before or that morning. I can't remember which one it was, but he told her about the fact he was married and had a child and they've died, and he was a bad man for a while after that. You know, he drank a lot and was in a really bad place. But then he talks about how meeting Shy has been a really good thing to happen to him and how amazing she is. And he sort of says, you know, come here and give me a kiss. And she sort of expresses like, I've not brushed my teeth, you know, I'm still like really smelly from last night and stuff. And he doesn't care. And they just kiss. And do you see what I mean? It's so kind of disgusting, but it's just really human and still really romantic. And I like that. I like that it's not sort of made to be something that's unrealistic. It's just very human and, as I say, like kind of like animalistic, but it's really sweet and I really like that. But in this moment, everything goes a bit Pete Tong because Gregor Cantless appears out of nowhere and he sort of breaks in through the window, I think, or breaks down the door. Temple, in fear, just legs it, jumps out the window, runs, leaves Shy, and Cantless then takes Shy and he takes her hostage. Obviously, Gregor Cantless is the man that Shy and Lamb have been looking for because they believe that he is linked to the kidnapping of the children. So Ro and Pip. So this is the man that they've been looking for. While this is happening, so while Cantless is keeping or taking Shy hostage and Temple has jumped out the window, the fight between Glamour Golden and Lamb, aka what I think is Logan, is taking place, and it's really like it's not even that worrying. Like, it's not concerning at all. Lamb absolutely pummels Glamour Golden. I do think that there is a moment, sorry, the sun is so beautiful. There is one moment in this which I forgot to mention, and that is that the night before this fight takes place, I think, Glamour Golden has a really brief encounter with Shy, and he basically talks about how he's really sad and really upset about how he's lived his life and everything, and is very full of regret. And it's interesting because he seems ridiculously similar to Lamb. So that was an interesting exchange. And I think Shy ends up holding his hand and she pretends she doesn't know who he is. And she pretends she doesn't know Lamb. But whilst the fight between Glamour Golden and Lamb is taking place, obviously at this point Shy is being kidnapped. She's been taken. And Savian, a member of the Fellowship, breaks in and frees her. So frees her as being hostage from Gregor Cantless. So she's rescued, but not by Temple. Temple, when he jumped out of the window, went to go and get help and went to go and get Savian, but Savian is the one to rescue her. And shortly after this, they have a bit of an exchange. It doesn't go very well. Temple sort of apologises profusely, but sort of says, you know, what good would I have done? You know, I'm a coward. I'm weak. You know, I would have probably died, wouldn't I? You know. And Shy is sort of like, well, yeah, maybe, but you were a coward, you jumped out the window. So they have a bit of an argument. She doesn't want to see him anymore. At this point, Temple leaves, and we know about this. We know about this behaviour because he's mentioned it when he talks about his daughter and his wife and losing them. That he drank a lot after that. So he goes straight to the tavern when he's really upset, starts drinking, and guess who turns up? None other than Nikimo Koska, who obviously Temple his last interaction with him would have been when Temple left. Temple left Koska's sort of mercenary group. Is it the Gentle Hand, the Great Hand, the Gentle Hand? I can't remember, but that's their last meeting point. So it's all a bit dodgy. Cantless has been captured. So when Savian sort of rescued Shy, and he notified other people, and they have captured Cantless. So Gregor Cantless has been captured. We've got him, and he admits that he didn't want to kidnap the children. He did kidnap the children, but he didn't want to. He did it because he owed money, and we know this also because he had an exchange with Papa Ring. So we know that Cantless was working for Papa Ring. Cantless owed Papa Ring a lot of money, and Papa Ring basically said, get it by any means necessary. So he ended up abducting these children and selling them in order to make money. So Cantless did it, but he's not the person who has them now. And we believe at this point that the children, Ro and Pit, have been taken by the Dragon people. Now, this makes sense because earlier on, when we were in the brief chapter with Ro and Pit, Ro was talking to the man that I mentioned, who's like a member of like the Maker, and he produced, when he said, you're one of my children now, he produced a dragon scale from, inside his coat. So this makes sense. And that is about where I got to. So I know that from where I am now, Glamour Golden was miserably defeated by Lamb, and in their fight in the ring, in the pit, it didn't really go to Glamour Golden at all. He was absolutely ripped to shreds by Lamb. And from where I am about now, it means that the mayor has won, so she has taken over, and that's where I've got to. So that is my latest update. Anyway, I hope you guys are enjoying this reading vlog so far. I know I'm going into a lot of detail, but I felt like the right thing to do, to go into full detail and full spoilers, and just for me to share this with you. I've just been having the best time reading this book. And I'm also currently reading Lightbringer by Pierce Brown, so I'm reading that this weekend as well. And I've also brought My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante and a volume of Berserk with me. We have no signal here. We have no Wi-Fi, there's no TV, there's nothing like that. So it's a bit off the grid. So it's just been really nice to have some peaceful time to read and be making my notes. So yeah. And I've also got some good news. I'm actually recording from my new phone, which I got an upgrade, and it has a lot more storage in it. So more reading vlogs and videos should be coming. So that's really exciting. But I hope you guys have been enjoying this reading vlog so far. Please, please, please let me know when you're watching this if there are any things I can improve on. I'm sure there are multiple and many. Please do let me know because I would really like some feedback. I've never done this before, so any feedback would be welcome. But I hope you enjoy, and I hope you have a lovely weekend, and I will be back soon with another reading update. Good morning, everybody. I hope you are all doing well. It is Thursday, the 22nd of January as I'm filming this. I've just made a coffee to get down with my demons. I have just come into the kitchen and put every single light that we have on because it's gone 7:30. I think it's nearly 7:45 and it's still pretty much pitch black outside. So lighting is not my friend at the moment. Got my Aragon t-shirt on because I did a little workout this morning. Got another one this evening. Trying to keep the movement in, trying to keep moving and grooving. And I have an update for you, and the update is very exciting, and it is that I have lost my mind because I have finished Red Country by Joe Abercrombie. I finished it the other day. I think I finished it Tuesday. Liam, I'm so sorry. I completely abandoned the buddy read and the chapters. I was like, Liam, I'm just having the best time. I'm so sorry. I'm just going to keep listening. And I did, and I'm the worst person in the world. But I just kept listening, and I was listening in the car. I didn't listen to music for 2 weeks pretty much because of audiobooks. I just was addicted. So I was just going to give you some updates. Now, obviously, I've made loads of notes because I finished it, but I don't want to keep you here forever. So I'm going to try and be really concise. But guys, I loved it. I loved it. I loved the ending. I loved where everything went. Where I last picked up from was last weekend, actually. And I last was telling you that Temple had his little rift with Shy, and he had gone to go and get a drink with, no, not with Cosca. He'd gone to get a drink after their little tussle that they had, and he bumped into Nicomo Cosca, who is obviously up to no good, and is like, Temple, I found you. Nicomo Cosca obviously does anything he can to try and get rich. This man is just trying to get rich. So he bumps into Temple at the tavern, and he kind of, like, not tricks him, but he nabs him. Also, just before that, the mayor was victorious in the little tournament because Lamb beat Glamour Golden, like pummeled him to pieces in the ring. So the mayor won, and she then took control of the town of Crease, and she had sort of lots of people arrested that were on, like, Papa Ring's side. She also had Papa Ring hanged. She had him hanged. I did not see that coming. I thought she might just banish him or something. But no, she had him hanged. She went for it. So that was quite intense. It was quite a shame, actually. I quite like Papa Ring as a character. And then another development was that Cantless was captured. So when Shy was rescued by Savian, when Temple went to go and get somebody, he went to get Savian. Savian came to rescue Shy, who had been captured by Gregor Cantless. They ended up rescuing Shy and actually capturing Gregor Cantless. At this point, what happens is that Cantless is he's obviously kept. Shy comes back with Savian, and there's this whole thing where Cosca identifies that this man is Cantless and he knows the way to get to the dragon people. And he knows that the dragon people supposedly have all these gold coins, and he just wants to get rich. So he thinks of a plan and basically says, do you not think that those dragon people who took the children, do you think there could be rebels there? Do you think there could be a rebel leader there? And he says, yeah, maybe. And so he says, right, well, we'll all go together. We'll go and find your dragon people and find your children, and we'll go and get me rich. But we'll also find the rebels, because he's got to tell the union, like, no, we're finding rebels, whereas he just wants to get money. So they all end up going out, following Cantless, following him because he is going to lead them to the dragon people. They all go off to find the dragon people. So you had Lamb, Shy, Cantless. Did Temple go? I think Temple went as well. Actually, no, I don't think Temple did go. Dabsweet, Crying Rock, Dabsweet's sort of partner. They all go and find the dragon people and to find their leader, Werdener. And they actually end up bumping into Werdener. Lamb and Shy ask him to give up Rowan Pitt, the children. He completely refuses. No, they're my children now. Like, you can't have them. Werdener gives them, I think, 3 days to leave, to get out. And then he sends his people after them. At this same time, Lamb and Shy have decided to kind of break in to go and steal back the children. And at the same time, Werdener had sent all of his people to go and capture them and stop them. As Werdener sent his people away to go and get rid of them, Lamb and Shy had snuck in and sort of got there and thought, there's no one here. So it was really poorly defended. They infiltrated, and Werdener's warriors, instead of coming across Lamb and Shy and those people, they end up coming across Cosca's mercenary group, and Cosca wins the battle. All of his mercenaries defeat the dragon people. Whilst this is happening, Lamb and Shy are in the dragon land with the dragon people, or where the dragon people are keeping Rowan Pitt, and they kind of discover that this land it's been impacted so that people can't, so infertility, so people can't have children. So it's why they realise that they realise why the dragon people, Werdener, were paying for stolen children, because they couldn't have children themselves. They were obviously employing Cantless to steal children and then they would pay Cantless to steal children. So it explained why Roe and Pitt were taken in the first place. When they were with the dragon people, or in that place, they also discovered sort of, mountains of gold. So all of those dragon coins, they found mountains of them, and they also found this big mechanical dragon, which we then discover is supposedly have been made by the Master Maker, which is the Master Maker is always referred to in the First Law trilogy as well. Werdener comes back and discovers Lam and Shai trying to take Roe and Pitt. Roe is really reluctant to leave. She tries to fight against Lam because she's kind of been manipulated by Werdener enough that she now has quite a strong connection to him. So when Lam and Shai try to take them, Roe fights back and she doesn't want to. She doesn't want to go. Werdener sort of stands in front of her and tries to protect her. But Lam gets sort of riled up and he becomes the Bloody Nine. So he turns into that, and this is where he's absolutely, utterly ferocious. He can't tell friend from foe and he just kills everybody. I think he hurts Roe, or almost hurts Roe, and Werdener sort of steps in and stops Roe from dying. And Werdener takes the blow instead and ends up dying, but his sort of last words were something along the lines of I just wanted to help them, or something like that. So I did feel, weirdly, I felt a little bit bad for him, but Lam, nearly really hurt Roe. So actually Werdener stepped in and saved her in the last minute, which was really interesting, but it also proved, I think, that Logan is Lam. I think that was my proof. I was like, yep, he's actually become the Bloody Nine now. Werdener had a sword that was made by the Master Maker, and Lam takes it. So they take Roe and Pitt, they take the sword. Cosca's group has just sort of has defeated all of the dragon people, and Cantless demands his sort of share of the money for taking them, leading them to this place. And Cosca, being Cosca, is like, ha, that's funny, you're not actually getting anything. And then he hangs him. So he hangs Cantless. Dab Sweet and Crying Rock see this and they say, so what about, would you like your share as well? And they say, oh, it's okay, we think we'll leave it. And they leave, but they had been promised a 20th, so they leave really unhappily. We then also have a moment where Savian is revealed to be a rebel, because earlier in the book, I can't remember if I mentioned it, but earlier in the book when Shai goes and introduces herself, when they get to the camp of the Fellowship, Savian is identified as hiding lots of tattoos, which identify him as a rebel. So, and Shai always kept it quiet. But Savian is identified as being a rebel, and then he's also taken prisoner. He was arrested because obviously the Union and have employed Cosca to arrest and find rebels. They all begin their journey home. They kind of leave Savian as, arrested with Cosca's group. But then they get about halfway and Lam says, no, I don't like this. I want to go back. I want to rescue him. And so Lam turns back. Shai decides to go with him. She won't let him go on his own. She kind of goes back with him. She kind of lets him go and then goes back a little bit after him. And she, along the way, goes to get reinforcements. So she finds Temple, drinking himself away. And they have an exchange. He apologizes for being a coward and sort of basically says, I can make it up to you. What can I do? And she says, well, you can come with me, and you can drive the carriage. You can make yourself useful that way. And he says, oh, I won't. I'm quite good at jumping out of windows and stuff, which I thought that was really sweet. So he ends up going with Shai to go and rescue Savian. Lam at this point is back on there on his own. He and Savian have an exchange. Lam breaks in. He finds Savian. And he rescues him. He unbinds him. He rescues him. He gives him a weapon. Because Dab Sweet has gone back with Lam as well. Dab Sweet he finds a big group of Cosca's horses and unleashes them. So a big stampede of horses rushes through the camp, destroys everything. I guess Dab went back because he saw it as revenge, because Cosca played him out of his share of the treasure. So Dab Sweet is kind of doing this as revenge, which I thought was quite good. Shai and Temple get there as well, and when everything is happening with all of the horses, they're kind of causing a distraction. Shai and Temple go and steal Cosca's carriage, and they discover that it is full of all of the dragon treasure, the gold from the dragon people. Unfortunately, also at this same time, Savian dies, he gets killed, but Lam escapes, he gets out. All of Cosca's people that are left sort of attack or try to chase down Shai and Temple in the carriage that's filled with gold, but Temple, being a terrible steerman, he steers the carriage really poorly and he crashes it, and all the gold obviously goes everywhere. And then out of nowhere, Conthus appears. So this is the rebel leader that the Union, so Cosca and the people, the Inquisitors that he's been working with, like Inquisitor Lawson and stuff, have been looking for. They've been looking for Conthus this whole time. Conthus appears. Turns out it's not a man, it's a woman. It's actually a woman that was part of the Fellowship. So it's Savian's partner, or Savian's partner is in like part of the rebels. She was posing as Savian's niece in the Fellowship. So it's actually her. She's revealed to be the rebel leader. It's the woman, I can't remember if I named her before, but she was with Shai a lot earlier. I think her name was Corlin. She takes all of the gold that kind of came out of the carriage, but Cosca doesn't know about this. So when Cosca turns up, he catches up eventually to Cheyenne Temple, and they're back in Crease. And Cosca says, like, I want my gold back. You took my carriage, I want my gold. And Temple explains, well, we don't have it. It doesn't exist anymore. It got taken by rebels, so we don't have it. And basically sort of tries to talk him down, because Cosca's threatening people. He's picking people up like, I'll kill him if you don't give me my gold. Temple is saying, well, it doesn't exist. We don't have it. There's nothing we can do. When this is also happening, if you remember, there was a moment earlier in the book where the mayor had asked Temple to help her draw up a new contract, and the contract signed Crease over to the old empire, not the Union. So when Cosca is demanding his gold back and everything, he thinks, I'll just get the Union involved. They can force, we need to capture the rebel leaders and we need to get the gold, and we can do it all here. Cheyenne Temple quickly hire one of the actors that lives in the Fellowship in Crease, and to stage. So he pretends to be, I've written it down, he pretends to be an imperial of the old empire, and basically shows this agreement, this contract that the mayor had made Temple write, and it sort of says, you can't take any of this stuff because we're the old Union, we're the old empire, we're not the Union. So Cosca's Imperials and things are all around him sort of say, oh, it's a good point. We can't touch you because you're old empire, you're not Union. So it protects them from Union harm. But it doesn't protect Cosca. So the Union end up arresting Cosca. They also arrest Friendly, but Cosca and Friendly escape very quickly after, so it didn't last long. They go back to Cheyenne Temple again, demanding their money. We want our coins. They say, we don't have it. There's nothing here. And a man called Swarbrick, who was traveling with Cosca as his almost like his chronicler. He's been writing down everything that Cosca does. He just gets absolutely fed up with Cosca just whimpering and whining and just wanting this money, so he ends up killing him. He stabs him, and so we lose Cosca. Cosca died, and it was a bit of a moment of, oh, I didn't expect that to happen. I didn't expect to lose Cosca, but we did, and yeah, so that was quite sad. I mean, he's a terrible person, but he's such a good character. I love him. But yeah, and then we all go home. So we end up, Shai, Rowan Pitt, Lamb, Temple, they all go back to where Lamb and Shai are from. Shai opens up like a little general store. Temple becomes a lawyer / a carpenter, opens up his little place. Cool Shivers turns up at their homestead and basically demands to see Lamb. But he sees, it's so strange, they have an interesting exchange, but Cool sees that Lamb has sort of got a nice home and family, and that he's not violent anymore, or trying to live a better life and be a better person. And I think Cool Shivers sees that he's trying to live a good life, and so he ends up walking away. He doesn't take out his revenge, which was really interesting. But the moment that happens, the moment Shivers leaves, Lamb, just something twigs in him and he thinks, no, I've got to go. So he packs up all of his things, takes the sword, the Master Maker sword, and goes. And Shai knows it. She sort of says, Shai sort of says, you're a coward, you're an absolute coward. And I found it really interesting that Lamb then said at this point, I never denied I was a coward. And I thought that was really interesting. Like, the last thing being said about this man is that he's a coward. But one thing I did write down, because another thing I wrote down that made me so happy is he says, say one thing for me, say I'm a survivor. The whole way through the book, guys, not once is he named. He doesn't ever come clean about who he is, like verbally. He never actually verbally admits it. I couldn't believe it. I thought, no, at some point he's got to admit it, but he doesn't admit it in the whole book. But it's him, it's Logan, I know it's him. And that was it. And I loved it. I loved the ending. I felt like it was such a good ending. It was so strong. I love that Temple and Shy ended up sort of forming their sort of little relationship. I thought the ending of Cosca was really interesting, but I think it was a really good way to end his story and his arc because, well, he doesn't really have an arc. He's awful, and all he seeks is, well, I think it sort of showed he was just so selfish, and it just didn't pay off at all. And I thought that was really interesting. You know, he was constantly not getting his hands dirty, constantly just like trying to get out of situations, but it never paid off. And I found that really interesting. But that Shy was able to find peace and have the kids back and things like that. I just thought it was great. And I thought that it was so interesting about, you know, sort of seeing the differences between the Union and the old Empire and things like that, and how they sort of were played. I thought that was really interesting. I loved it. I absolutely loved it. It was immediate 5 stars. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I utterly adored it. I just thought it was brilliant. The dialogue was great. It was so funny. There were moments of heartbreak. It wasn't overly emotional. Like I never got upset or anything, but it was brilliant. And I thought the ending was quite bittersweet. But I really loved the relationship between Shy and Logan. I thought that was really sweet. And I loved it. Liam, thank you so much. This has been such a good buddy read. I hope you guys enjoyed this reading vlog. I know it's been a bit chaotic and it's literally just been me listing things that happen in this book, but definitely give me some pointers for how I should change it. How can I improve? Because I would love to know, because I have no idea what I'm doing, but I've loved sharing this experience with you. Honestly, it was an immediate 5 stars. I just loved it. It was everything I wanted it to be and more. And exciting. I think I mentioned earlier, but we are starting Age of Madness next week. So it's Thursday today. We are hopefully starting Age of Madness on Monday. I'm so excited. I can't wait. If you want me to vlog it, please let me know. I'm not sure. It depends how good this vlog has been, but do let me know. Have you read Red Country? Have you read any of the First Law books? Which ones were your favourites? Which ones were standouts for you? I think Red Country is my favourite standalone. I loved it. You have to be realistic about these things. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the vlog. Please let me know if you'd like any more of these, or if you think, actually, that was terrible, please stop. I'd like to know. But I hope you have a lovely day, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye.